You're listening to Empire of Rust, the first and greatest Transformers RPG podcast. Join the heroes of Cybertron as the last vestiges of Starscream's war take them to the far-flung colonies to defend the planet from distant threats and protect the Cybertronian Republic from the shadow of the Harmonium.
Welcome back to Empire of Rust, the first and greatest Transformers RPG podcast. Podcast? Yes, podcast.
You know what we were doing?
I was in the middle of my intro speech over here, and it took. I had to stop. I had to pause. I had to stop for a second. I'm like, what's the next line? What's the next line? We've only been doing this for 135 episodes.
That's all. Still not used to it yet.
Still not used to it. It's funny too. Like if I stop to think about the line, it messes me up. But if I just don't think about it and just do it automatically, then it actually works.
Yeah.
I'm that way with a Rubik's Cube. Once I start doing a Rubik's Cube, I'm not even thinking about it anymore just because I know a pattern. But then all of a sudden they're like, if someone says hey, can you tell me what it is you're doing right now? And I kind of go, no, but my hands know.
Just look at my hands.
Yeah.
Sounds sexy.
I wanted to talk about changes in games today. So, and the reason I want to bring this up is because the mechanics that we have for the social encounter that we've been doing is very fun. I enjoy it, and it's really, really cool. I love what I put together for it, and I think you guys do too, from what we talked about before. But I've noticed it is taking a while to get through, and if we go through the entire process like I envisioned, it might be fine for a 1 or 2 session encounter in real life, but it makes a very, very long show and just a whole lot of talking. So I've decided to make a quick change to that. And instead of requiring each of you to talk to all 4 members of the quartet, I'm going to have you just talk with 2 members of the quartet. And as soon as each of you have spoken with 2 members of the quartet, then the encounter is going to end. And then we'll figure out, what your victory condition is turned out to be, whether you make an alliance with these folks or whether they hate you because you insulted them. 6 of one, half dozen the other at this point, But that's what I wanted to talk about at the start here is what happens when you're playing in a game or when you're running a game and you realize that something just isn't working, whether it's something that you're doing as the DM or whether it's something that you're doing as a player. How do you approach that? It's do you just stop the game and then start something fresh? Do you try to maneuver so that it is as seamless as possible? What do you think?
I'm trying to think of a time when that's happened.
Well, I got a good example as a player, and I think I mentioned this before, but in the Starfinder game we're in, I was playing a Solarian for quite a while until I just realized I didn't particularly like how the class was presented. The options that I had felt very limited, and I know I needed to make a change. And, we wrote the character out. He went off and just did something on his own, and I brought in a new character. Mm-hmm. I guess it's a little bit different when you're talking about player versus GM. Very different setups on that, and much different agency when it comes to what you can do in the game. But kind of a similar idea. It's there was something that I wasn't happy with. It just wasn't working for me. And it's okay, we need to make a change for it. Now, we could have done something a bit more subtle, like my character ended up getting, I don't know, trapped in some transmutation vat or something like that, and then came out as a completely new character. And that would have worked for the story. Be perfect. And you could have done something very subtle with it, maybe just retrain a couple of feats or class levels or, whatever, and just did something different that way. Mm-hmm. But so any time that something has come up where you just didn't like the way it was working or didn't work the way you envisioned it.
I mean, I don't have a great specific example because I tend to forget. But I'm usually pretty freewheeling when I run things. So I just sort of adapt midstream. There's definitely been a number of, and we've been doing Mutants and Masterminds, there's definitely been a few incidences where things have happened completely differently than I expected them to. The setting, we just didn't end up where I expected them to happen, or you negotiated when there was supposed to be a battle. So you gotta, I like to just roll with it and see where it flows. And probably people don't notice it's any different than my usual sort of muddling around anyway. So I have good camouflage. So
you're good at adapting things on the fly, definitely.
Thank you.
Well, I guess one of the things that comes to mind is it's like there's different ways to play games. Sometimes you're on a real world and sometimes you're in a sandbox. And if you're in a sandbox, then you're always doing that. So that's not really an issue. It's mostly when you're on a railroad, that's when things become problematic. And I feel that I know that when I was a younger DM, I would be very upset when the train didn't go where I wanted it to. And I think that as I've gotten older and more experienced, I'm like, oh, I know the train can kind of go wherever it needs to. Mm-hmm. As far as so Rumi, I thought of an example for you. This is a long time ago, college days, where one of the other players was playing a class called a Clod, which is effectively like a not dexterous and very strong and dumb rogue. And it kind of reached its limit around like level 9. It's just at that point, because this is second edition, once you get to 95% in every skill, you're kind of like, well, what am I doing? Thankfully, he was playing a human, and Rumi just kind of transitioned him into oh, you have been chosen by the Order of the Red Grape. You suddenly just become this drunken priest. And it was awesome. And it was a totally different way for that character to kind of manifest his stupidity. And I think the player really enjoyed it, and it was so that's a kind of thing. I think we were talking about this before. I find that especially because I was, a conductor, if we were continuing the metaphor, is that I tended to over prepare, to the point where I knew the rules inside and out, and I was ready for the other players to know the rules inside and out, and no one knows the rules. So and that was often very frustrating for me, because I would be I came up with something that's awesome. And when you guys figure it out, you're going to go fuck yeah, that was great. And no one ever figured it out because it was some sort of esoteric rule that was on page 55 of a book that no one's read,
Oh yeah, that's frustrating. I've definitely been there a number of times in similar ways, feeling that. So
yeah, me too.
A lot of it comes down to the people that you're playing with. There are some groups that are my suspension of disbelief cannot be broken. And other times we're just oh, a character that I didn't want to play just kind of walked this way. And then in the next room, we found a guy stuck in a jar. And then all of a sudden, you're in, and sometimes you're well, you know what, that works. And other times you're just oh, we got to go back to town, and, we got to meet somebody in a tavern. And it's you got to go through the whole thing. It really depends on the group. Some people don't care. Personally, at this stage, if someone's not happy, I want them to be having fun. Let's change whatever it is that we need to do in order to make that happen. And if it's obvious hand waving or just oh, blink, look, that was different, I'm cool with that. So
I was a lot like you in my very early days of being a DM with Dungeons and Dragons. I was designated the guy to run the games for several of my friends. And we started out not knowing what we're doing, so it was a little bit sandboxy to begin with. And then they started to discover modules, and they were all about the modules. This one looks great, this one looks cool, read the back cover. This is awesome. I'm going to get it for Adam because I want to run in it. I don't want to run it. So Adam, you run it. I'm gonna put my characters through it. Yeah, okay.
Classic.
Yeah. I'm sure everyone's had that. And modules are great because they take into consideration a lot of things. Unfortunately, if you're not writing them, you have to know all of them, just like the rule books. And you have to know the insides and outs and all the little secrets and all the little notations and what all the characters are going to say and do, depending on what is said and done to and for them. And it's very frustrating, not only for the GM, who has to be super prepared with everything and make sure that the adventure stays on its rails, but for the players too, who have to indulge the GM, who has to occasionally look up something because it's important. They know it's important, and they just can't find it in in the module or the rule book or whatever.
Yeah,
and that can really put a stop to the whole momentum of the game.
Yeah.
Later in my years, I found that sandboxing was the way to go for me, and I got really good at it because, like Pat said, you tend to learn the rules a lot when you're GMing, and you realize that they don't learn the rules so much. They might know the rules for their own character, maybe, but they don't know all of the rules. And that is a beautiful thing when you realize as a GM, they don't know the rules. You can make up shit if you need to, and just roll with it, and they will roll with it, and the momentum flows, and the adventures are awesome, and epic things happen, and memories are made, and it's fantastic.
And unless you're playing with Pat.
Yeah, I was going to say, my greatest power has always been, I know everybody's characters better than they do, and I'm just like, oh, remember, you could do this thing with your class. And they're like, oh my God, you're totally right. Like, that's a really good thing to know. And it's like, yeah.
Adam, I'm actually going to, I think, try to take an example from something you did. And correct me if I'm wrong, if this was something you had changed kind of midway through or something you had planned from the beginning. When you were running a Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 campaign, the Arcane Vault, one of the last adventures that we did was kind of this Groundhog Day time travel story. And we started off right in the middle of combat each time. And as like every time the timeline cycled, we were in the middle of combat. But as we went through this repeatedly, you changed and you hand-waved a lot of the encounters and the things that we were doing just so it wouldn't get bored with having to redo the same thing over and over again. So was that 100% planned, or was that something that just kind of evolved naturally?
It was planned, and I was having trouble planning how I was going to do it without it being repetitive or seem, to the point where it's getting boring. And I think maybe about a week or two beforehand, I don't know if I came up with the idea or if I saw it somewhere online or whatever, that when you're doing this progression, almost like in a time loop kind of a scenario, you can play it off as like a video game where the last place that they die, the last place that they failed their accomplishment is actually the save point. So you know that you've already done everything because you've already done everything. And so it's just assumed that you found the right way to do each of the encounters up until the new point, the new encounter that you're having. And then you figure out how to do that. And if you fail, okay, no problem. The time loop resets and you go back and you're able to go past that point because you figured out how to do it.
Makes sense.
So everything was fresh, and it kind of took away a bit of the fear of failure because so many things were deadly on that island, and you knew that it was doomed from the beginning. And you guys were the only ones that knew it was doomed. So you had like a leg up on the whole thing, which it was kind of fun.
Definitely.
And the only thing I know I've done is I've like sped up things. Like in one of the Starfinder games we played, we had a ship combat and it was the end of the night and it was like the end of the chapter. So I just wanted to get through it quick. So I just did like a quick thing with you guys so we didn't have to go through a combat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it took like a round or something.
Yeah. Starship combat in Starfinder is definitely one of those things that eventually we were just like, okay, hand wave. You know,
I think actually that's a great example then for this question, at least for our group, with, I think, the exception of you, maybe Adam. The majority of us are just like, okay, it's all right, but not something that we really love doing. So let's just hand wave it away.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could think of that I've done like that.
And yeah, nothing wrong with that.
So you were saying that like you wanted to change the format of what we did. And I think that a lot of times it's like, especially for people that are listening, like they actually do like this part. So it's not that it's a waste of time, because like this is where we're actually like, oh, we're like figuring out who our characters are or revealing who our characters are because we're being asked questions that we have to answer in combat. And like, I know like this is a thing that I tend to struggle with, but like, I know that when I'm listening to like other people play games, it's just like, I'm not like, yes, I'm obviously interested in the numbers, but I'm like, it's the role playing that tends to be the more memorable things. So like, it's not that I'm saying that you shouldn't do, make the changes that you've intended to make, but this doesn't have to be bad. Slow isn't always bad. So that was just, it was something that when you first mentioned it, I was just like, well, and I know it almost feels weird coming from me.
Right.
But
I think the reason that I want to do it is we've had 3 episodes already of this year, and I think I don't want it to be 6-7 episodes. Like that seems excessive. I kind of want to hit that sweet spot, maybe 4. Like that seems cool. Hear that, Adam? We're hitting the sweet spot.
Yeah, you gotta catch up to me in order to put a finger on me.
Oh yeah, sure.
Speaking of catching up to you, Sweet Spots, if I remember right, last session, you asked Ozerelix to introduce you to Prime Arbiter Cortex. Just jumping right to the top of the pile here.
Oh, boy.
Ozerelix.
So this is the start of round 3. And just to recap for everyone, Sweet Spot has spoken with Archon Fraxus and then Ozerelix. Ozerelix is the dude who is effectively the head of state, the party planner. Carapace has spoken with Aris Silver and then the military head, and then Naoris, the oldest, or one of the oldest spots here in the Harmonium. Magnum has spoken with Visuzum to start with, and it was the first one of the encounter. And then spoke to Seraphim 7, the leader of the Power Master Approval Committee. And last, but certainly not least, Spindrift. You spoke with Aris Silver first, kind of an unusual choice for our resident mystic, but he seemed to be really interested in what you had to say. And then you spoke with Vex, the headmaster of the Harmonium's Grand Consortium of Colleges.
Got too many titles floating around the room here.
It's only going to get worse, Sweet Spot.
Oh, yes, it will.
Round 3. Let's start us off. We're going to roll for initiative. Don't forget, initiative is diplomacy, intimidation, or culture. We'll see if you're smooth and suave, big and beefy, or just knowledgeable.
How about NOTA?
None of the above. I'm going to go with intimidation, just because I feel that's kind of what my bag is, in which case I have a 35.
Magnum is a 21 for diplomacy. Minimum roll, although he got to get an 8 for +2. So
19, and I used diplomacy on that one.
And bringing up the rear, an unfortunate position here for Sweet Spot. What did you get yourself? I assume you're doing a diplomacy.
Yes, of course I am. And I got myself a 27 with my diplomacy.
So, Carapace, you are going to be going first, followed by Sweet Spot, followed by Magnum, and then Spindrift bringing up the rear for this round. So, Carapace, go ahead and pick whom you would like to speak with.
Raise the question. Yes, the little transformer in the back here. I know we discussed last time going up in teams, groups to people to both speed things up and sort of take care of our qualifications. I mean, you obviously lowered the qualifications already, so maybe it's not as important now. And I forgot to say it, but here, Pat, I agree. The role-playing stuff is fascinating to listen to, so it has value. So I don't know if you want to do that since we're starting the round, or if there's any interest in that or not.
What was funny, like literally what I was going to do is like after talking to that guy, I'm just like, I'm hungry. I'm going to go get a taco, and then like intimidatingly walk across the room, parting the sea, just so that I can get that thing. Get to the food, and then I'm going to wait, or delay until one of you guys approaches somebody new, and then I'll come up and ruin whatever it is that you're going to do. So
okay.
I'm looking at you, Sweet Spot.
I know you are.
Okay, so you're going to walk over to get some food and delay, which makes it Sweet Spot. You are up now then, and Carapace, whenever you decide to speak with anyone, just go ahead and interrupt and tell me, and you can join in.
Okay, thank you.
I believe I was asking for an introduction from someone, to someone.
That's right. You had asked for Ozarelix to make some introductions to Prime Arbiter Cortex, the head of state of the Harmonium.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
Ambassador, walk this way.
I will do my very best to impersonate the body movements of this bot as they cross the hall.
Go ahead and move yourself over to Prime Arbiter. Ozarelix will escort you over to the Prime Arbiter, bow low to him, and call out in a fairly loud voice, considering that he's right next to him. Prime Arbiter Cortex, I present to you Ambassador Sweet Spot of Velocitron. And then he gives this insanely low bow and then backs away.
I will bow, not quite so low, but about medium bend, I think. Okay. And I will say, Prime Arbiter Cortex, I am honored to be on your presence, sir. It is a fine shindig that you have going on here. Many fine people and accoutrements. And I am honored to make your acquaintance, sir.
The honor is all ours, Ambassador Sweet Spot. It is a glorious day to find potential allies out in the galaxy, whereas we have found nothing but enemies around us.
Truly. You haven't found a single entity that would be willing to call themselves your friend?
None that we would consider an equal.
Ah, a man of standards, I see. A bot of standards.
Tell me of your home planet, Velocitron. I would very much like to learn about it.
Well, Velocitron is quite the hot spot, and that is not a euphemism. The surface of the planet is scalding. It is scorched due to its close proximity to its solar power, and our cities are built on these massive structures that have to drive across the landscape and avoid the sun. So we are forever chasing dusk.
It's an almost inconceivable way for us to see a society. As you can see from around us, the entire planet here is all one large city. One bot can spend their entire lives, and often do, in their role, in their one spot within the great machine. to have to move the entire civilization around the planet every day is almost inconceivable.
Well, it is something that we have had to adapt to. In order for us to do so, we've had to concentrate our population into these rolling mecha cities, for the safety of everyone. And we have adapted quite nicely. It is absolutely beautiful. The whole planet is always at sunset. I have to say, it has its advantages. We have adapted an order to things. We have a saying on Velocitron that speed is life. If you ain't moving, you're dying. And that's the way we like it.
That's fascinating. It would seem almost like the Great Machine has found a way to be present within your society. Tell me, what role do you play in your society? Are you merely an ambassador, or do you have some larger role?
Well, I did get my start as a junior ambassador. I was sort of a fill-in for some of the diplomatic entourage that had gone off to Cybertron. But after involving myself in many political puzzles, as it were, and helping to solve them for the greater population, I have risen up. I even ran for president once. I didn't win, but I did my fair share.
And tell me, what is the role of a president in your society? Does it mean someone that presides over?
They are a bit of a political figurehead. They do make some executive decisions for the betterment of the population. They work hand in hand with the court system and also the ruling council of Cybertron and the worlds there. What's the thing that they call it?
Council of Worlds.
Council of Worlds. Yes, thank you. Council of Worlds.
So it seems like you fit the role that was destined for you quite well. You started as a junior ambassador and progressed up the political ladder, as it were. So this means you were a part of the ruling class of Velocitron?
I do help facilitate things from time to time, but I'm not really ruling there either. I do enjoy being an ambassador, getting out, meeting new bots and people. Organics is all the same. There's life all over, and everyone has a different point of view. Understanding that is part of my job.
I must admit, I was shocked to find that your headmaster companion was not the person in charge of your party, and you, in fact, were the primary representative.
Well, he might not be in charge, but I value his opinion and his point of view greatly, and I often ask for it.
Aw, thanks. But
Aww.
suddenly feel a little bit warmer in my heart. Hey, when did I get
And
one of those?
your bluff check is insane, Adam.
I know.
I didn't even roll.
Yup.
So you can either ask him something else, or you can choose to, again, anytime you want, you can choose to roll something. Diplomacy is always an option, but depending on how the conversation goes, you might want to try something else. So,
Let me ask you, Prime Arbiter Cortex, how would you characterize what you would consider your ideal ally?
Now, that is a very interesting question. I believe the best ally would be a civilization that allows us to extend the reach of the Great Machine to more than just our small corner of the cosmos. Someone who is able to pursue a larger cosmic machine. An ally who would help us do that would be very, very good for us.
So, what I'm hearing, not to put too fine a point on it, is that you're looking for an ally with open borders, trusting your judgment on your own dealings implicitly, and maybe even has a little spark of expansionist in them.
I think you have quite succinctly summarized our needs. Let me ask you, Ambassador, the same question. Why do you believe that you are worthy of an alliance with us?
Oh, I'm not entirely sure if we are worthy. I certainly hope we are. We are putting on a good face for you here, and you are certainly showing your kindness and hospitality to the maximum, and I thank you for it. Simply, we want to know our neighbors. If we are going to be allies, I think that's where everything should start, is with being good neighbors.
And he'll raise a glass of Energon to you.
A toast, then. To good neighbors.
I'll take a glass from someone passing by. Oh, okay.
Clink. You are so fast, Sweet Spot. They didn't even notice.
They'll notice when they go to take a drink.
You've already taken a drink, put it back.
He almost got me to spit out my real drink.
Oh no, it's the infamous Coke episode again.
No!
No, we want Adam alive.
Did you want to make a roll?
Yes, I would. I think it's about time I make a roll. All right, diplomacy, don't fail me now. Diplomacy has utterly failed me.
Oh no.
That is a lowly 19.
Oh no. Maybe it was something in the way that you took the drink.
Did I take his wife's drink?
I imagine you made like a social faux pas where you grabbed someone's drink, but you grabbed the wrong person's drink. You didn't grab it from a server, you grabbed it from like one of the other delegates.
All right, hold on, Mike. I have a haste circuit, and I think I'm going to be using that because that was a terrible roll.
Okay.
Before you go any further, I'm going to activate my haste circuit, which will let me re-roll one social roll. It's going to take a charge. I got like 5 charges.
And this is Blur's haste circuit, the thing that you got in the special episode we did like last year, the Tales from the Forge.
Yeah. So here goes the second diplomacy roll. I'm sorry, this isn't my drink. Aha! That is much better. That is a 36 more complete. Server, yes, thank you. Come here. Give me that. You know what? Give this guy another drink too. I put my my fingerprints on that, so yeah, you probably didn't want that. There we go. Cheers.
That was a very, very close call. And I will say that Cortex has an incredibly high DC, as you expect, because he is a head of state.
Oh.
But with a 36, you do make it.
Oh my gosh.
Very nice.
Nicely done.
I think I sweat less when I'm followed by like half a dozen racers.
Well done.
And of course, your comms are open for everyone else, so you know everyone can hear this. They hear the social faux pas that you almost made, but then corrected. And I think that at least from Sweet Spot's interactions with them, all of you can deduce that a diplomacy check against Prime Arbiter is going to be incredibly difficult.
Anyone could.
Mm-hmm.
Did we get any ideas of what other checks might work against?
Not especially, because the questions that came up really didn't really give you any more clues to it. I tried to give like some stuff with it, but yeah, like, there was just like no particular like direction for it. You could, if you want to, stop by Ozarelix or Vesuvium, or maybe even Naors or Parsona, and then try to get some more information to work with it. But no one has asked anything about Cortex at all. So nicely done, Sweet Spot.
I will give everyone a heads up. Hey, people, just a little heads up. Arbiter Cortex is kind of a tough nut to crack. If you're going to be chatting with him, make sure that you come across as, and I'll describe like what his ideal ally would be. And he also doesn't believe fully that we are worthy, or he'll probably want to know why we think we're worthy. So he's a little bit of an elitist. So don't hold that against him, and keep that in mind when you chat with him.
A lot of bit of elitist.
Yep.
He's in charge of everything, so that's sort of natural.
He is the head of state, and he is in his element right now.
Nothing about this place is natural.
Magnum, you are up next.
Alrighty.
Who do you want to ply your social graces with?
Big race. What do you think, guys? Should I go for the big kahuna?
Well, I already got him warmed up.
I'm going to be following with you almost no matter where you go. So this could be fun.
No,
Okay, go for it.
I can't say no, though. Careful. Alright. Well, I think enough people have been visited already. I'm going to jog up to his prime arbiterness.
Jog right up to him. All right.
No, I'm moving my move without moving. Yeah, that was sweet spot.
Shove him out of the way.
Yeah, I'll get one. We'll flank him, Carapace.
I figured you could go here, and I just stand behind you.
Okay, I want to get plus 2.
As they come over, I'll introduce them.
Oh,
Prime Arbiter Cortex, may I present to you my colleagues? This is Magnum, and this here is Carapace, the mighty.
I nod.
Representative Magnum, Representative Carapace, it is good to meet with both of you.
I will give a bow and then pick up the hat that falls on the ground.
As you do.
I do not bow.
Well, you'd kill me.
Right.
Don't bow, Carapace, you will hit your friend.
I would drive me to the ground like a tent pole. Good afternoon, your prime arbiterness. It's an unforeseen and spectaculous honor to be in your presence in this soiree. I just wanted to say how grateful we are to be allowed to be in your presence. If I do coin a word, or no better word to say.
I must admit, Representative, that I'm looking forward to speaking with you. Not that I did not want to speak with your ambassador, but I believe that bots of a similar nature should converse.
Yes, I agree. See,
Is he also wearing a jacket?
No, he's not.
It's all from pink.
I never actually described him to you on this sweet spot. So Cortex is a fairly solid, stocky bot. He's actually shorter than the rest of the quartet. A little reminiscent, kind of Optimus Prime. He's got very broad shoulders, very stocky, very boxy. He does not look. He's almost at odds with the way the rest of the environment is designed. Everything is kind of sinuous curves. He almost stands out just in his stocky and blockiness.
Does he have one hand in his jacket?
He does not have a jacket.
Oh. So he's shorter, but no. Okay. What about a big hat? No, nothing.
You're the one wearing the big hat.
I know.
He is green, blue, and white. He's got these red patches where windows would be. Like I said, very reminiscent of the way a Prime would look. And of course, just like all the rest of the quartet, you can see that there is a smaller box kind of in his chest/stomach. But this is to be expected because you would expect that all of these folks here are Power Masters. So there's going to be a little small bot in all of them.
What are the names of their smaller components?
They have name tags.
Are you asking him that, or is that a general question?
That was more of a general question. I feel like even I would know that would be kind of a rude thing, but it was it definitely crossed my mind. You didn't say, "Oh, hi, I'm Magnum and Pythagoras." You said, "Oh, I'm Magnum," and it was just "Oh yeah, but there's another you in there." And I was just wondering, oh, if all of these people are that, it's just are they could they leave if they chose, or are they now enslaved inside of another person's body?
I'd be able to leave. The Nagras can certainly leave.
Oh, obviously.
That's an interesting question, and that's something that you can ask, or you can try to puzzle it on your own without asking.
It's definitely something I will ask, but it's not the time. It's not like it hasn't. It will come.
I do want to observe closely, and I don't know if there's any way for me to tell this. Maybe being a headmaster would help, because I know some of how it works to a degree. But I'm curious if who I'm actually interacting with is it really is it the main bot? Is it the little bot, or is it both, like it generally would be? At least headmasters. In headmasters, it's definitely both usually, But
so with this, since you're trying to puzzle this out on your own, I will give you a life science check to try and figure it out.
Life science.
And can I make a sense motive or some sort of check just to kind of size up everybody? Like you said, he's kind of blocky. Is he also is he like one of those guys that was like, oh no, you could kill somebody, but you just happen to put on a suit, kind of things?
Sure. Go for sense motive.
Only a 15.
Only a 15?
I'm not very good at that yet.
It doesn't seem like it. He's not acting the same way.
He's not acting the same way. What?
Like it doesn't have the same vibe as you got from those armor formers.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right, life science is 32.
You are talking to the main bot. There doesn't seem to be much of anything of the smaller bot coming through on this. And you would also know as a headmaster, the connection between a head and the headmaster is far more intimate, far more a combination of personalities than a power master would be. And even that's more than a target master would be. So in terms of how closely connected, target masters at the bottom, power masters in the middle, and then headmasters up top.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, we were exchanging pleasantries, were we not?
Here, take these pleasantries. Take them. Take them.
Like he said something about bots, similar bots meeting other bots that are similar and being similar together. Similarly.
Exactly right.
Yes. Certainly, it is definitely good if two bots can truly speak eye to eye, face to face, cheek to cheek, etc. Maybe not the last one. That depends. Are we dancing? Never mind.
I would like to ask you, Representative, what is your opinion on the rulers of your world? I got the sense from the ambassador that a president holds very little actual power, and the majority of it comes from those citizens that elected them, and the council that helps to preside, which is somewhat unlike our society.
I am going to nervously take a big drink.
Yes, well, that is a good deal. That is very true in a way, but you have to remember that this is a population. Cybertron is also a population of Cybertron, which means the population is, to some extent, as much strength as there might be in between individuals. We, in our own way, have a great machine. Just imagine billions and billions of bots stretching across the universe, all connected by this central nexus in some way, because that's their home. That's where they came from originally. And it's capable of incredible things when it's necessary, but it doesn't focus all the time. And the day-to-day things do need to be managed by these presidents who organizes things, And order is absolutely essential, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, yes.
But it's like, just imagine a little tiny robo-flea on top of a big old giant rhino bot, The rhino
I try not to roll my eyes when they talk about rigidity and order being great.
Yeah, this is something that's like way outside your wheelhouse, isn't it?
Oh no, I have opinions. They'll start wars. So
if Carapace starts to get some looks from Prime Arbiter, I will kind of speak up and clear my throat and go, yes, good, well spoken there, Magnum.
Fair enough.
Anyway, it's like, I don't know where I lost my analogy there, but imagine a teeny tiny bot, but when the entire Rhino bot gets aggravated, it all moves as one, and heaven help, or the machine, what's their god's name?
Micronus
help any who stand against them, especially in defense of an ally such as yourself. There would be nothing like it ever seen before. However, obviously that is rarely necessary.
So as you're talking with him, and just because I can't keep up with you, Matt, so he is like talking back and forth with you, and he's kind of working like the analogy into the conversation as well. Because when you mentioned the Rhino bots, like you saw his eyes kind of like light up just for a moment, and he really goes with the analogy of it being like an ecosystem with animals in it. Carapace, you can make perception or survival. You'll get different information for whichever one you choose.
Okay, I'm going to go with survival. It's the thing that I'm probably best at. Nice. 18 plus 17 is 35.
The analogies that he's making seems to indicate he has much more experience with animals than his station would allow.
And based on you describing it, that's kind of the impression that I've gotten.
I imagine you would think that someone in this kind of position is going to be primarily like a city bot, someone who is going to, like a politician, effectively. And the amount of back and forth that he's having with Magnum is just more than a typical politician you think would have.
Do you have natural, non-city places here?
No longer, but we did in our past.
Are there other planets under your purview that are? Because forgive my, I'll use the word instinct, but you seem familiar with an animal, like, the analogies that were just used, like, seem to, strike harder than I would have expected.
My half-assed analogies actually trigger something accidentally.
In my youth, when this planet had some natural life forms to it, we did hunt them for sport. It was a common pastime among the upper castes. Sadly, there is very little natural life left on the planet. The fauna that remains is very deadly and difficult to get to. As I have heard, you and your companions fought a large mechano worm the other day.
Oh, that little old thing?
Actually, I had a question about that. That leads nicely into something else. In your culture, how do you reward exemplary service?
Those who contribute to the great machine, extend its reach and its efficiency, are the ones who are the exemplars of our society. The ones that form unity with the machine, the ones that elevate our society, those are the exemplars. And they are rewarded by promotions. And if their service continues to be exemplary, then they are offered a position of Power Master. Once they're within the Power Master class, then other opportunities open to them. They could even rise to the ranks of the Quartet, should anything happen to any of our members.
So, had one of your citizens been the ones to take down this threat, how would have they been rewarded? I'm just curious. Also, and maybe this will answer in other ways, how is failure dealt with?
If it was one of our military, they would have commendations placed on them and be put on a track for promotion, assuming that there is space within the Power Master class. If it was a significant enough threat to our world, it alone may be enough to sponsor placement within the cast. As far as failures in our society, we do not have those.
Of course not.
You can make a sense motive if you want.
Raising my eyebrows, taking another drink.
That's a 6.
Yeah, they don't have failures.
And I say that I'm like, of course you don't.
I was also going to make a sense motive on that one.
Sure, go for it.
I got a 23.
And I got a 40.
Nice. Okay, I think between you can put 2 and 2 together. That if anyone fails at their assigned duty, then they're likely just eliminated because they are effectively a rogue element to the machine. And if a gear in a machine is broken, you don't try and rehabilitate it. You simply replace it.
Would that apply to the quartet as well?
Magnum, you think that it would have to be a very, very bad failure. And even then, it might be more of a retirement. They move away from public life.
Okay.
You guys want to make a roll? Or is there any other questions you'd like to ask?
Do we make our own rolls?
I mean, obviously, I do kind of want to help, but at the same time, like, I'm just trying to think if that's appropriate for this situation. Like, I want to say something to the effect of, I hope we have the opportunity to hunt together.
Oh, okay.
And visit one of these dangerous places. But there's going to be... That phrase is going to be laced with danger. You know? As in, like, you've never hunted anything real. Like, you know, like, let's see, like, how you deal with a real hunter or become real prey. So can I make an intimidation check on that? Maybe
give it a shot.
Call his ego into question.
Give it a shot.
And perfectly average. So that is a 32.
32.
He's not a Fate Weaver by chance, is he?
No, he's not.
I get bonuses against Fate Weavers.
He's wearing a Fate Weaver sweater.
Unfortunately, Intimidate was actually not one of the things that he can be that would work against him. He's just not intimidated. It was a good track to go on. There is something along that lines, but yeah. Good try. Magnum, what do you roll?
Do I have any idea if bluff might help? Just
Possibly.
Believe all this nonsense I'm spouting.
Possibly. Not going to tell you what it is. The only way you get that knowledge is if you talk to other people, and they help you out with that one.
All right. Well, I'm going to use my my flexibility power to give me a skill focus bonus on my diplomacy. Which I don't remember how many points that gives you, but I think it's 2.
Great. Is it a class skill?
It is class skill.
Then it adds +2. Like if it's not a class skill, it functions as though it is, and if it's not, then it adds +2.
I think it's class skill. I'm pretty sure it's diplomacy has to be a class skill. All right then. Yeah, I will give it diplomacy shot. It's almost the same as my bluff for some reason.
Diplomacy, okay.
Actually.
Yes, it is class skill for you.
Oh, jeez. Wow. I've been rolling lousy today. Alright, so that is... Yeah, just a 31.
Okay, a 31 for Magnum. Now, I told you last session that all of you are going to be getting different bonuses, different penalties based on the things you talk about, who you are, and things you've done previously. Because of what happened in the last session and today, a 31 passes for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm diplomatized, I think. Mainly because you can't tell the truth from lies anymore. So.
Nice.
Even though I'm familiar with your lies and your far-flung truths, I thought you were laying it on pretty darn thick there.
Yeah, well, I mean, is there another way to do it?
Yes, it's called subtlety.
Subtlety. Yeah.
Yes, it's akin to a clutch for your diplomacy engine shift.
But he wants a big, tough, powerful ally. I mean, we gonna say? We're big, tough. We'll crush anyone. We want you to be our buddy.
Clutch.
You know he lied. I mean, like, that was a flat-out lie that he told Sweet Spot. Like, because the perfect ally would be one that would immediately accept the yoke.
It was a subtle distinction there.
Yes.
Yes. Slavery is always subtle, isn't it?
Trying to convey, like, we are big and tough and powerful, and we want to be your pal. And be big and powerful for you.
Okay, Spindrift, bringing us at the end of round 3. Whom do you want to talk to?
I would like to talk to Archon Fraxis.
Ooh, the religious guy. Okay.
Yes.
I finally get to talk in a different voice now instead of Cortex.
My wedge.
All right. Where the hell am I?
Bondage is what brings us together today.
Representative Spindrift, is it?
It is, Archon Fraxis. It's nice to speak with you.
The pleasure is all mine. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you. To what do I owe this auspicious visit?
Well, I'm under the impression that you here venerate Micronus Prime. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. Blessed be his name.
Kind of like bows his head down. You can you can hear him muttering like a short prayer like under his breath, like the great machine.
Micronus Prime was the sponsor of our colony, and he came here on a Titan many millennia ago.
That's very fascinating. I don't know much about Micronus Prime, unfortunately. Where I'm from, I have heard of him, but I don't know much about what he's done. Where I'm from, we venerate Onyx Prime. Are you familiar with him at all?
I know of Onyx Prime, yes. He is the master of beasts, if I recall correctly. I will admit that worship of Onyx has never been popular among the Harmonium, simply because Micronus has been the prime mover of our society.
Oh, of course. I just asked because, from my understanding, Onyx Prime and Micronus Prime were friends at some point. That's how I know of Micronus Prime, in the teachings of Onyx Prime. But as I said, I don't know much more about him.
That is absolutely correct. And as far back as our oldest tales, it is the friendship between Micronus and Onyx has been well established.
Is that something that your faith teaches here at all?
Sadly, that has fallen out of fashion as one of the tenets of Micronus. The Harmonium focuses more on Micronus' role to all the primes versus just one. We believe that Micronus' role is to support and to help all life, all Transformers. And we found that focusing on one aspect of his friendship with Onyx, it did not...
it wouldn't provide the overall picture of what he would provide for all bots. Is that correct?
That is right, yes.
That's interesting. He supports all life. That's fascinating. Like I said, I know little about Micronus Prime, and I was hoping that while I was here, I might understand more to see how Onyx Prime became friends with him and how their friendship grew. I believe it might be something that I could bring back to my people and teach them more about Micronus Prime and how he worked with Onyx Prime.
That would be a very good exchange of ideas between our people. I do encourage you to, once we are done with this party, this soiree, come visit me in the Luminous Spire, and we can walk the halls and see. We can experience Micronus' story from the founding of our society, from the founding of our culture.
And you would understand that the Luminous Spire is probably like the main temple of the society.
That's quite enough, Ryan. I thank you for that. I would certainly enjoy that. I'm not sure what our schedule will be like, but I would certainly like to take you up on that offer as soon as I can.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly, like, in character, talk about things that perhaps I've learned in my teachings of Onyx Prime that might be from Micronus kind of thing. Like, as he brings stuff up, maybe say, oh, I've heard of that. That came from our understanding of Onyx Prime. I wasn't aware that came from Micronus' teachings or something to that effect, you know.
Sure. And the two of you can kind of go back and I'm not expecting you to have like an encyclopedic understanding of that, but your character certainly would. And it's a good example of player knowledge versus character knowledge.
Yeah, and I can only get so far.
Right. And to be honest too, like a lot of it just like, especially when it comes to like Onyx and Micronus, like that stuff, there's not a lot of backstory written. Just as is. So yeah, like the two of you can go back and forth and kind of compare notes as to like where these teachings came from, how they're interrelated, how you think the like Onyx's and Micronus's friendship developed.
Yeah.
The whole thing, like with like all the primes, like betrayal and battles and all that, and it's a fascinating discussion, and it kind of really, like, you can see where the stories start to diverge and how they're similar versus how they're different.
And I want to make sure not to contradict anything that he says about Micronus.
Okay.
Even if it's something that I believe or I'm against, I would try to make it subtly I didn't know that. That's fascinating, kind of thing like that. But not specifically say, that didn't happen or things like that to anger him. So I want to play into that.
It's a good thing you mentioned that too, because as you talk about things that Onyx has done, and he is, it's kind of encroaching onto what Harmonium Society says that Micronus has done. You can see that he's starting to downplay the impact of Onyx within that relationship. And
when we get to that point, I'll start talking something similar to like the fact, that must be through their friendship. Onyx must have received that from Micronus or taken that from Micronus and passed it on to us. Things like that. Just to try to amp it up a bit.
I gotcha. A little bit of brown nosing on here. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
You disgust me.
I've learned from Sweet Spot.
I mean, you learn from the best,
His bumper is brown.
Yes.
You can ask something else if you want, or you can choose what you want to make a roll with.
Yeah, I think I'd continue that conversation because one, Spindrift would be interested in it, and two, I think it's a good avenue to try to win over the religious aspect of it that way. So I'm guessing I'll go with mysticism for that one. Does that make sense?
Mysticism works for me.
I get a 40 for mysticism.
A what?
A 40.
What the fuck did you pull that off?
I rolled a 19.
It's really
it's called magic. You call mysticism for nothing, buddy.
Yes, a 40 will certainly do it.
You believe in magic.
Damn. I wasn't even on nat 20 too. You can get like a 41 on that one. All right. Here we are at the end of round 3. Out of 8 attempts on the quartet, you have 6 successes. So overall, a very nice showing so far. You have one more success left to get on Seraphim 7, and we will get to that one next time.
Right.
That's right. Who is next again?
From the Secret Files of Teletran 1, Empire of Rust is written in GM by Michael Ordway. Detective Magnum and his partner Pythagoras are played by Matthew G. Ambassador Sweetspot, Councilman of Velocitron, is played by Adam H.U. The Decepticon Target Master, Wildstrike, and his partner Nyko are played by Mike M. and Carapace, the beast warrior of primitive Eucharis, is played by Patrick Finn. Additional characters are played by Michael Ordway, Brandon Ouellette, and Charlotte Chapman. Outro narration by Derek Bixby. Empire of Rust is supported by the humans and networks of planet Earth, whose online networks provide access to libraries of sound effects and music such as Storyblocks, Zasplat, Blue Zone, Pixabay, Paper Yellow Music, and Dark Fantasy Studios. We are distributed by the Transmissions Podcast Network. Stay up to date with all the latest news and reviews in the world of the Transformers by going to transmissionspodcast.com or searching the Transmissions wherever you get podcasts. You can communicate with the heroes of Cybertron by joining us on the Transmissions Discord channel. There you can discuss episodes, talk to the cast, and download the rule set used in Empire of Rust. Teletran 1, signing off.